This video is brought to you by screaming into the void after a minor inconvenience. Okay, this may be a bit of a hot take here, so bear with me. I have never been a massive Godzilla fan.
What?
I know, calm down, I will explain. I have seen the original films. I generally like them. And like all of you, I cannot stand 1998's disgraceful attempt at bringing the giant lizard, or I guess he was an iguana in that movie, back to life. But in 2014, when Legendary and WB announced that Gareth Edwards was going to direct a rebooted version of Godzilla, I was cautiously optimistic. It had a fantastic cast, and it's probably got one of my favorite trailers ever. So yes, I was there opening night to see this gigantic lizard wreak havoc on, I guess it's San Francisco this time around. And my initial reaction was that it was fine. I think because when I watched that movie as a 16-year-old, I expected more of Godzilla. I'm not saying I disagree with the criticism that this movie didn't show Godzilla enough. At only 2 hours of runtime, it probably could have used more of him. Flash forward to 2021, and with Godzilla vs. Kong set to release next March, I decided to revisit WB and Legendary's MonsterVerse, which kicked off with 2014's Godzilla. And now that I'm no longer a teen, but rather a young adult who likes to share his opinions online, I can say that this movie does something that a lot of monster movies actually fail to do, and that's capture the scale of its monsters and build suspenseful tension around them. Similar to how Steven Spielberg shot the dinosaurs in the original Jurassic Park, what Gareth Edwards does so well here is showcase the absolute terror and magnitude that these titans carry with them. So, for this week's video essay, let's dive deep into 2014's Godzilla and examine how Gareth Edwards builds tension leading up to when the monsters arrive on screen, and how he actually shoots and films the monsters.
An ancient alpha predator.
Millions of years older than mankind. From an age when the Earth was 10 times more radioactive than it is today. This animal, and others like it, consumed this radiation as a food source.
We call him Godzilla.
While doing my research for this video, I started watching Godzilla's Blu-ray extras and came across one that really opened my mind about this entire film. Take a listen here to what Gareth Edwards has to say about how he wanted to film the monsters.
We always try and give things a grounded perspective. Like, there's a lot of shots in our movie, especially with the monsters in it, are usually from a human perspective.
I don't like putting a camera anywhere a camera can't go. So I don't like getting footage of the creatures in a way that would be impossible. So it either has to be a helicopter, handheld, someone on the ground.
He wanted to film everything from the human perspective. This means that we as the audience aren't even always able to see the monsters fight, but still get a sense of the destruction that they cause. Now, I bring this clip up because the way that the monsters were filmed proved to be a major criticism amongst critics and fans. People everywhere wondered why we weren't seeing Godzilla spend most of the runtime dishing out a world of hurt against the other monsters. And I guess that means I now fall into the minority here, because I actually love the way that Edwards approaches the monsters in this film. Filming monsters from the human perspective opens up a lot of creative ways to build tension and atmosphere for your movie. It gives the film a sense of realism that other monster movies aren't able to achieve. Instead of going for a fantastical edge, the movie really makes you believe that these titans could be from our planet and exist alongside us. In each scene that features a monster, the atmosphere is terrifying and unnerving, and that is due to how Edwards and his filmmaking team expertly weave the camera around the imposing kaiju. Take the scene near the end of the first act, where the male Muto is revealed. Immediately, there is a sense of urgency in this scene, thanks to the male Muto's cocoon apparently being set to hatch. When the Muto does hatch, Edwards uses a low angle to showcase the height of the creature and how small we are in comparison. He then cuts away, filming a screen that is capturing the male Muto's destruction. Edwards does this a lot in this film, but I'm going to talk about that more later. As Edwards finally puts the camera on our main character Ford Brody, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, he finally gives the Muto a fully realized entrance. Brody is kept to the bottom half of the screen center frame, while the Muto encompasses the entire background. The frame isn't even big enough to showcase the male Muto, as the higher he stands, the further off screen he appears. One could argue that had Edwards used the 1.85:1 aspect ratio, which gives you 24% more space in frame, instead of the 2.35:1 aspect ratio, which is widescreen, he could have better fit the monsters on screen and showcased their full height. This is something that Steven Spielberg actually did on the first Jurassic Park movie. For me though, I would actually argue against this. In choosing to use a widescreen, none of the monsters can fit on screen, and it adds to the gravitas that these characters carry with them. While Spielberg used the extra frame space to capture the awe and wonder of the dinosaurs, as well as the claustrophobia that they can cause when you are close to them, Edwards aimed to capture the beasts at their most imposing and most terrifying. And part of their bodies being off screen only adds to the volatility and the chilling nature of these kaiju. I mean, seriously, look at this thing. He's ugly, 250 feet tall, making noises you've never heard, crushing people all around you. He's scary. You want to be beside this guy? I would not. I may have gone overboard just then. You know what? Let's just get back to the video. Of course, once the monsters are revealed, the military gets involved and devises some nonsensical plan to try and solve things. So let's fast forward to the middle of the second act. Ford has now joined an army squad to deliver 3 nuclear warheads that they hope will destroy the male Muto, a newly discovered female Muto, and of course, Godzilla. For this part of the video, we're going to focus on monster number 2, the female Muto. As Ford gives the go-ahead to begin transporting the warheads, the music cuts, and Edwards slowly tilts the camera up to reveal that the army squadron is not alone in this forest. As the Muto reveals herself, the music cuts completely, and we're treated to one of the most terrifying sequences in the entire MonsterVerse. The Muto slowly lurks around Ford and his partner, with the camera pushing in to focus on the Muto's face, her eye being the only thing that lights the screen. Edwards immerses you in the frightening feeling that has overtaken this moment, and as the Muto rises from underneath the train tracks, he uses similar framing for when the first male Muto appeared. He has Brody and his partner center frame, but once again, the Muto engulfs the rest of the space, again, not being able to fully fit on the screen. Watching this movie all these years later, I am amazed at how well directed this film is. The Mutos are formidable, humongous, downright scary at most times, and everything in between. But enough talk about the villains of this film. Let's move on to the titular monster,
Godzilla.
I think Godzilla has one of the greatest entrances in a movie ever, and Edwards again uses a slow build for his reveal. As the male Muto makes his way to Hawaii, our human protagonist follows suit, but they soon realize that a third party is also on his way, Godzilla. As the male Muto wreaks havoc on Hawaii, a helicopter crashes into it, and the camera moves to an airport where dozens of people watch everything transpiring in horror. As people scream, the music cuts, and a gigantic foot appears on screen, followed by total silence. The camera once again slowly pans up as Godzilla is finally revealed to the audience with a huge roar. But then, Edwards cuts away from the action. Now, I found this interesting. Edwards continuously cuts away from Godzilla whenever he appears on screen. I mean, he's the title character and he is rendered so damn beautifully. Why wouldn't you want to constantly show Godzilla off to us? Well, As I said, Edwards and his screenwriter Max Borenstein did not want to just throw Godzilla action sequences left, right, and center. They wanted to create a build-up that by the time Godzilla finally arrives for the final battle in San Francisco to take on the Mutos, the beast wouldn't be able to be contained any longer. To fully understand Edwards' approach here, allow me to get extremely snooty and explain a writing principle that I think he and Max Borenstein made use of here in Godzilla, and that's the rule of 3. According to the website MasterClass, the rule of 3 is a writing principle based on the idea that humans process information through pattern recognition. As the smallest number that allows us to recognize a pattern in a set, 3 can help us craft memorable phrases. Now, what does this principle have to do with Godzilla? Well, on 3 separate occasions, this one, and that one, Edwards either cuts away from Godzilla or puts him in the background of the scene and focuses on the humans dealing with the dangerous setting. It isn't until the 4th time that Godzilla appears on screen that we are finally in store for a massive all-out brawl with the Mutos. See, I think this is why I like 2014's Godzilla so much more now than when I did back then. I realized that my brain reacted exactly how this principle said it would. By the time Edwards cut away from Godzilla for the 3rd time, that number of cuts got stuck in my head, and I was on the edge of my seat, waiting to see Godzilla as the brutal, action-packed, and freaking awesome monster that these trailers promised us.
Let them fight.
Kicking off the final battle with a stunning halo jump, Edwards wastes no time in reintroducing Godzilla into the final battle. The camera is once more at a low angle with our humans as Godzilla's tail slowly disappears into the smoke. A flash of the giant lizard is then seen as he slowly and silently makes his way into frame. While Godzilla has roared twice before, Edwards finally gives him the breathing room to let out one spellbinding and humongous roar as the army looks on in terror, yet admiration, since it has now become clear that in some way, this radioactive dinosaur-looking thing is on our side. Now, to capture the final battle, Edwards weaves the camera through buildings, high above near helicopters, and going low to where our human characters are to superbly demonstrate the amount of damage that is being caused and the feeling of inescapable destruction that the citizens of San Francisco are probably feeling right now. But what's scary to them is awe-inspiring to us as the audience, as we see Godzilla leave it all on the line to defeat the Mutos and restore balance to the world. Now, I'm skipping a few scenes here, but thanks to some help from Ford and his team, Godzilla is able to gain the upper hand over the Mutos. After impaling the male Muto through a building, he takes the other one by the neck, forcefully opens its mouth, and unleashes his atomic breath down her throat, decapitating it almost instantly. This is the real moment that the entire film had been leading up to. And without the incremental buildup that we got throughout Godzilla, I'd argue that that giant lizard winning in this fashion wouldn't have felt as impactful as it did. I like Godzilla 2014 a lot more than I did back when I first saw it. The movie, it's an acquired taste in that it forgoes throwing all kinds of monster action on screen in favor of building anticipation to these exciting moments by crafting a truly terrifying atmosphere around them. It's a movie that isn't afraid to take its time instead of spoiling its audience by throwing all the cool crap at once. It could have been so easy to just do an insane monster fight every 20 minutes. After all, look no further than its sequel, which I also actually kind of enjoy. But I think that's why I have such an appreciation for the creative direction that this film took. At the end of the day, even if the movie could have used a little bit more of him, what we got was one of the coolest looking and most definitely the most physically imposing Godzilla to date. I mean, seriously, look at this atomic breath. My God, is it cool? How you can't get cooler than this. This is the definitive definition of being cool. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to watch my latest video essay. As I said earlier, Godzilla vs. Kong is set to release next month in March, so leading up to it, I plan on doing videos on the other two MonsterVerse movies, that being Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on Twitter at Poulimenakos. I've been Poulimenakos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, guys.